But tonight, we begin right here in Vietnam. Tomorrow, President Trump will kick off a series of historic meetings with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. Both leaders arrived yesterday. President Force on Air Force One and Kim Jong-un via a 60-hour train ride. Somebody buy this guy a plane. I guess maybe it was in the shop getting repaired. But 2 years ago, remember, the hate Trump media mob told you, we the people, the president, oh, he's leading us to nuclear annihilation in response to what? North Korea, their hostilities, rockets being flown over Japan, threatening Guam, threatening the continental U.S. Trump deployed multiple aircraft carrier strike groups in the region. He nicknamed Kim Jong-un Little Rocket Man. He reminded the despot about America's nuclear superiority. He squeezed North Korea's only real ally, China, with tariffs. He deployed the strategy. It's called peace through strength. And all while America's left told you the sky was falling. He's going to start a nuclear holocaust. Little Rocket Man, fire and fury. My button's bigger than yours. This is how the media reacted.
The idea of a nuclear showdown with North Korea keeps you up at night? I would recommend deleting your Twitter app.
He is not merely being cavalier with a threat about nuclear war. He's being cavalier in a way that makes him seem demented.
These are the messages from a person who is not well, from a leader who is not fit for office.
President Trump is goading Kim Jong-un to test a nuclear missile again, to prove its reliability, to show him wrong. And fundamentally, I think it comes across as two kindergartners who are jostling each other, except that each has nuclear weapons.
Well, here's what...
Too late after 100,000 Americans die.
After a nuclear holocaust.
Or after 1 million die in Seattle.
And that's where we are. This is not an exaggeration.
Trump's comments about nuclear weapons have experts worried he could literally inadvertently trigger a catastrophe.
They said the same thing when Reagan called the former Soviet Union the evil empire. And per usual, and he challenged Gorbachev, tear down this wall. They're completely wrong again and again. And as you might have noticed, there's no nuclear holocaust. In fact, quite the opposite. What have we seen? North Korea completely stopping firing ballistic missiles over Japan, threatening the region, threatening Guam, threatening the continental United States. They returned the remains of U.S. servicemen, brave heroes who died in battle during the Korean War. They agreed to negotiate the denuclearization of the entire Korean peninsula. Oh, and hostages were returned. A huge deal. And it's not just about North Korea. Now, China is being held accountable for its rampant intellectual property theft. And because of the real serious threat of ongoing tariffs, well, guess what? New, better trade deals that help Americans, that help farmers, that help manufacturers, that help our car industry are now on the table. Despite all this success, of course, the hate Trump media mob and Democrats publicly rooting for the president to fail in his upcoming negotiations with Kim Jong-un. We have 8 U.S. senators, this is a joke, releasing an open letter to the president, bashing him for his diplomatic efforts, insinuating our president is a liar. Well, let's look at the hate Trump media mob's obsession with a months-old statement from the president, that he and Kim fell in love during their first encounter. Okay, let me translate this for anyone in the media who's too stupid to figure it out on their own, who never left the comforts of their little TV studios that are way overpaid. The president developed a beneficial working relationship with someone we're trying to negotiate with. By the way, if we can stop North Korea from threatening the entire region, that would be a good thing. That's when nuclear annihilation is just a button away if we don't fix it. So let's face it. Here's the sad reality. We have the left in this country, Democrats, mainstream media. They don't obviously want the president to succeed, not just on this issue. Even when the safety and security of the American people is on the line, this is sick. Their psychotic hatred of this president is more important to them than the well-being of South Koreans, the entire region, and Americans. Now, if that wasn't the case, remember, they would fund the wall on the southern border like they were willing to do in Obama's second term. But if Trump's doing it, it's immoral. If that wasn't the case, they could not have tried to ruin Judge Kavanaugh's life, smear, slander, besmirchment during their botched attempt to block his nomination. If that wasn't the case, they would not have voted against the Born Alive bill, which would have protected living infants who survived a botched abortion. Really? Pretty heartless. And all the Democratic presidential candidates in the Senate voted against this bill. All of them. Now that brings us to tonight's Hannity history lesson. While the left is actively rooting against President Trump because that then gets in the way of their desire for power, well, their own track record in foreign policy has been an absolute disgrace. Frankly, an utter failure. Their failed strategy can be summed up with two words: international bribery. If only we suck up to dictators and pay them money, maybe they'll like us. 1994, then President Bill Clinton bragging about giving North Korea the world in exchange for just a promise not to build a nuke. Didn't last long. Take a look.
This is a good deal for the United States. North Korea will freeze and then dismantle its nuclear program. South Korea and our other allies will be better protected. The entire world will be safer as we slow the spread of nuclear weapons. South Korea, with support from Japan and other nations, will bear most of the cost of providing North Korea with fuel to make up for the nuclear energy it is losing. And they will pay for an alternative power system for North Korea that will allow them to produce electricity while making it much harder for them to produce nuclear weapons. The United States and international inspectors will carefully monitor North Korea to make sure it keeps its commitments. Only as it does so will North Korea fully join the community of nations.
Well, it wasn't a good deal for the American people because North Korea took the money and ran. And today, yeah, they have a nuclear weapons arsenal. President Trump is now stuck cleaning up his mess. And sadly, Obama didn't learn from Clinton's abject foreign policy failures. Remember in 2015, then President Obama tried to bribe the world's leading sponsor of terrorism with $150 billion in cash and other currency that they dumped on a tarmac in Iran for the mullahs of Iran that say death to America and death to Israel and burn our flags. What do we get in return? We got a promise again that they wouldn't develop nuclear weapons for a few years. President Obama called it an unprecedented achievement in stupidity, but Iran used that money, what? We now know to fund terrorism all over the Middle East as proxies of wars all over the place, killing so many innocent humans in the process, killing innocent civilians around the world. Iran still publicly plotting the annihilation of Israel, still burning the U.S. flag, still chanting death to America, death to Israel. And Obama's flawed nuclear deal, thankfully, because of President Trump, is now totally obsolete. If we don't learn from the past, yes, we're doomed to repeat it. Just like Reagan peace through strength, we can learn from success as well. And that's why the president will only open up the spigot of economic opportunity in North Korea if Kim Jong-un agrees to join the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which opens up his country to regular, unabated checks on his nuclear program. And he'll help his people out in the meantime. And he also has to agree to phase out and dismantle all of his nuclear weapons. Accountability, verification, or no deal. Now, as a country that is learning from our past failures is critically important, not just abroad, but right here in America, within the United States, our country. In 2010, when former President Obama and his fellow Democrats rammed Obamacare down your throat, remember, they made a lot of promises again and again. Keep your doctor, keep your plan, and save less, and lower drug prices. Well, a lot of people lost their doctors, lost their plans, and everybody's paying more. All Americans will be insured. Didn't happen. Healthcare costs have skyrocketed. Some Americans only have one plan. 27 million Americans today still remain uninsured. Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, nearly every other far-left radical Democrat is pushing Obamacare on steroids, human growth hormone times a million. They're literally calling for every American to lose. You cannot have private health insurance and let our ever so competent federal government, the ones that gave us Obamacare, handle it all. Take a look.
Will these people be able to keep their health insurance plans, their private plans, through their employers if there is a Medicare for All program that you endorse?
What will change in their plans is the color of their card. So instead of having a Blue Cross Blue Shield card, instead of having a United Health Insurance card, they're going to have a Medicare card.
All right, that multi-trillion-dollar big government takeover, just one small part of what is now the radical, extremist, democratic, socialist 2020 agenda. Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, pushing widespread reparations. Also, almost every single Democratic candidate right now is backing this insane Green New Deal. Free everything for everybody. Free childcare, free housing, free healthy food from government healthy food, free vacations, free family leave, free health care, but you can't have a private insurer. Free, free, free. Oh, and retirement. And you don't even have to work. Oh, yeah, by the way, no more oil, no more gas, no more airplanes, no more cows, no more powered cars, and the government will rebuild every single building in America for energy efficiency. Well, all in 10 years, and by the way, we have our first cost estimate at a meager, up to $94 trillion. Even though the world, of course, is supposed to end in 12 years, according to Ocasio-Cortez. Now, this plan would wreck the United States. It would be an unmitigated disaster, nothing but a path to poverty. It would destroy the greatest wealth and innovation producing system that mankind has ever seen, called capitalism. And that's not all. The radical plans keep coming and coming. It's open borders, eliminate ICE, and if they get their way, only the government gets to have the Second Amendment right. In fact, as we speak, House Democrats, they are prepping a bill that would criminalize many gun sales. And let's never forget their unified opposition to living humans surviving abortions. This is the new extreme radical Democratic Socialist Party. All Democratic senators running for president voted against the Born Alive Survivors Protection Act. Wow, the most innocent among us. If our government doesn't protect babies living on their own, what's the point? All of these radical plans, they have one common theme: government power. Democrats want to bribe you, we, the American people. They want to take away all of your fear, convince you that giving up basic fundamental rights in exchange for security, lofty government promises, everything. Now, it's time tonight we call on everyone in America. Learn from history. Bribing dictators and kissing up to them never works. Socialism always ends in death, poverty, and destruction for all. We'll have a lot more coming up in the course of the show. But first, let's preview what is about to go down tomorrow in our nation's swamp. So while the president is here in Vietnam, the president's former attorney, Michael Cohen, is going to testify in public 3 days in a row. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Tomorrow's the only public one before the House Oversight Committee. He's going to be grilled by some of the worst Trump haters like Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman Tlaib, and others. Now, keep in mind, among other issues, Michael Cohen did plead guilty. Lying to Congress. Wasn't long ago that prominent Democrats hated Michael Cohen, called him out repeatedly for being a liar. Now they're his best friend. Take a look.
As far as Michael Cohen's credibility, Rudy Giuliani described him as a proven liar.
I think that Michael Cohen, Rudy Giuliani, and Donald Trump have about the same amount of credibility. They all use, at best, situational ethics, and probably more likely they just lie constantly.
So now Michael Cohen is the Democrats' new best friend forever. Sadly, he's going to report to prison in May to serve a multi-year sentence. And you know what? He and his family have been through an awful lot. Frankly, hell. And Democrats, in my opinion, are just shamefully using him as a political prop, not to learn anything new, but once again to bludgeon President Trump, to make him look bad. While he's in the middle of high-stakes, historic negotiations abroad, here in Vietnam, to keep the world safer. Whatever happened to politics ending at the water's edge? You know, it is a pretty heartless act by a group of people just blinded by all things Trump. And as of for tomorrow, as a kangaroo court plays out on Capitol Hill, President Trump is going to be fighting for America's interest abroad, flying 25 hours to try and make the world a safer place, keeping the country, the citizens of the United States safe in the process. Pretty despicable.